Welcome. Today we've got a really incredible story for you. It's all about scientific discovery, the power of patience, and a real quest to take on a rare and mysterious cancer.
So let me ask you something. How do you fight a cancer when there are literally no approved treatments for it? I mean, zero. For a long time, that was the reality for patients with a certain type of blood cancer. And that one question, it kicked off this amazing journey from total darkness to a real groundbreaking therapy.
All right, first up, a rare cancer's mystery. Now, to really get why the breakthrough was so huge, you got to understand the problem they were up against. For the longest time, this disease was just a complete mystery. Okay, so the full name is a mouthful, Waldenström's Macroglobulinemia. We'll just call it WM. Now, before the year 2000, WM was a real puzzle for doctors. It looked a lot like other B-cell cancers, which made it super hard to diagnose correctly, let alone treat. There was just no clear roadmap, you know? Doctors and patients were basically flying blind, with very, very few options.
Next section, a center is born. You know that old saying, necessity is the mother of invention? Well, that is exactly what happened here. The desperate need for answers brought together this amazing group of people with one single, laser-focused mission. And what's so cool about this is that it wasn't some big institution deciding to do this from the top down. No way. This started back in 1999 with Dr. Steve Trion. But he wasn't alone. He teamed up with patients and their families, the very people living with this disease every day. By 2005, that team effort officially became the Bing Center. It was a true grassroots movement built from the ground up. Okay, section 3, cracking the genetic code. So now you have the center, you have this energized community. It was time to put on the detective hats and get to work. Their number one goal? To find the genetic smoking gun behind this disease. So what they do? They brought out the big guns, whole genome sequencing. Think of it like a superpowered spell checker for our DNA. They scanned the entire genetic blueprint of cancer cells from WM patients, just hunting for one tiny recurring mistake, a mutation that could explain everything. And they found it. A single genetic typo. And get this, it showed up in an incredible 95% of patients. 95%. That's not a coincidence. That's the bullseye. This discovery has a name, the MYD88 mutation. And this was the big one, the aha moment. It was like finding the master key that unlocked the whole mystery of WM. For the very first time, they had a clear genetic fingerprint to say, yes, this is Waldenström's gene, and tell it apart from all the other look-alike cancers. But, science is never quite that easy, right? As they kept digging, they found another layer to the story. There was a second piece to the puzzle, another mutation that explained why the disease wasn't the same in every single patient. This second one was called the CXCR4 mutation. Now think of this gene as a GPS for the cancer cells, constantly telling them, go to the bone marrow, go to the bone marrow. What the researchers figured out was that when this GPS was faulty, when it was mutated, it could make the disease more aggressive. And even worse, it could make the cancer resistant to some treatments. Finding this was absolutely crucial. It meant they could start thinking about truly personalized medicine. All right, on to part 4, a breakthrough treatment. Look, finding these genetic clues wasn't just for a scientific paper. It was like they had found the enemy's secret blueprints. And now that they had a clear target, well, it was time to design the weapon. And this is where things really accelerated, from the lab bench right to the patient's bedside. So they connected that MYD88 mutation to a specific protein called BTK. You can think of BTK as the on switch for the cancer. So the goal became simple: find a way to turn that switch off. And it turns out a drug called ibrutinib could do exactly that. This led straight to a clinical trial, and you can guess what happened next: a truly historic approval. The results from that trial? They were stunning, just breathtaking. A whopping 91% of patients responded to the drug. 91%. It was a home run. All that detective work had paid off, big time. And this, right here, is the climax of the whole quest. Ibrutinib becomes the first drug ever approved specifically for Waldenström's macroglobulinemia. This was a complete game changer. For the first time ever, patients went from having 0 targeted options to having a powerful therapy made just for them. So, next step, section 5, leading the global fight. Because the story doesn't end with just one drug approval. Nope, The Bing Center took that momentum and just ran with it, building this incredible global network to support both patients and scientists.
What they offer today is, well, it's the whole shebang, a complete ecosystem of care. Patients don't just get a prescription, they get treatment plans tailored to their exact genetic mutations. They get access to the newest clinical trials, pathology reviews, basically everything you could need. It's really become the go-to place in the world for WM care. And their work goes way beyond just treating their own patients. Their impact is global. They're the ones organizing the big international workshops where all the top minds share the latest research. They've published over 200 papers. And maybe most importantly, their work actually helps write the official guidelines, the rule book that doctors all over the world use to treat this disease.
So, what does this all mean? The Bing Center's story is just such a powerful example of what happens when patients, doctors, and scientists all team up with one goal. It shows that even for the rarest diseases out there, a focused, collaborative quest can turn a complete mystery into real understanding and, in the end, turn hope into actual healing. Which leaves us with one big question, right? What new discoveries are just around the corner?